world? You already know who it is. It's your boy Ride Dog here, back with another Skip Scramble recap. But this isn't just any recap. I might have to do a little throwback Thursday here to last year when we did our first annual Turkey Day special. We did this just because, we didn't really have too much news to report on the recap front, and the sponsor still wanted to run something, so we basically put together the top 7 bloopers moments. These are just your turkey moments, your oopsie-daisies, like awkward moves that happen throughout the season that were made by the Skip Scramblers. And, trying to have some fun here, not be too mean or anything, but yeah, later we're going to be counting down the top bloopers of Season 2. But first, I got to do a quick little recap of what's going on because, man, things are tight. Not like they're like sick tight, but just like they're like the rankings are really close right now. And I said a couple weeks ago the playoff picture was kind of shaping up, but I don't even know if the way I called it is the way it's going to go down. Right now, if you look, we got our top 3 right here. This is going to be Doug, Sam, and Garrett. These are your teams that are 8-3. But if you notice, they haven't officially clinched yet. If you look at the league settings, you'll see an asterisk next to their name once they clinch, but none of these guys have clinched yet. There's only 2 games left. It's technically possible that one of them could slip out. This would require them losing their last 2 games and losing someone on points. Garrett's definitely the most at risk for that. We'll see what happens. From there, we got Derek and Jill. Both these teams I thought might be on the chopping block, but they kept winning. They're kind of in that safe zone, but, if they lose out, they're much more likely to be eliminated due to points. They are 7-4 right now. I think 7-6 is going to be that cutoff point for playoffs, so it's going to be very close. Next, we got Eric, myself, and Kirill. And it's kind of crazy to see Eric and Kirill jump up so much in the final hour as kind of dark horse candidates for that last playoff spot. Obviously, earlier I said that it was going to be between me, Jill, and Matt for that playoff spot. But now it's much more likely that that spot goes to Eric or Kirill. But as you could probably tell, it's anyone's game. To make playoffs from these teams, you got to go 1-1 if you have a lot of points. If you're like me and me and Kirill don't have as many points, you got to win 2, get that 8-5 legitimate lock for that spot. Still not technically eliminated down here. We got Matt and Shannon. These teams are 5-6. Still out there for them to take it. 2 wins in a row gets them to 7-6. If things get muddled near the middle, and a lot of teams end up at 7-6, the team with the most points is going to go in. So it's a lot of teams that can make it there. These next 2 weeks are going to be pretty crazy. As far as the other 4 teams go, definitely can't make playoffs, but they still going to keep playing. Try and get those last few wins, deal a loss to someone, and position themselves for the losers bracket or the Sacco Bowl. It's going to be pretty fun. So without any further ado, it's time to get into the top gobble moments. These are going to be your bloopers, your moments. So let's just get straight into it. Blooper moment number 8. Jill brags too early about beating Doug. Now, this is always just classic. You always want to talk smack, and you're looking at your projections, and sometimes you think you have a match in the bag when you really don't. This was a great game between Doug and Jill. I'm pretty sure they both scored in the highest points for that week. But Jill celebrated just a little too early when she snuck past Doug. She started texting everyone, "I beat Doug! I beat Doug!" And, this is like seconds after the final game. And as we've seen many times this season, nothing's for sure until the points lock, especially all the way till next Thursday. And, everyone was kind of thinking, like, wait for it. And sure enough, within half an hour or so, Jill lost a couple points on a stat correction. Doug ended up winning. So that's just super embarrassing gobble moment. Just to be saying I won for sure, and then to have to end up losing, that is just awkward. All right, so can't go too hard on Jill for that, but it's pretty funny. All right, turkey moment number 7. Jill brags too early about beating Garrett. So this is just another one where she's just way too ahead of herself in the points, and she's looking at the afternoon games and sees that she has a big projection to beat Garrett.
Epic
She
fail.
texts him "good game," which is just a universal rude thing to do before the game is over. Totally came back karma, and she ended up losing that game. So that's just like a classic awkward, like thinking you got it when you really don't. It's just like some really awkward moment there. All right, so turkey moment number 6. Jesse drafts literally the entire Chargers team.
Epic
And it's really hard for me to say this. I think it's probably the only time I've ever said it in my life, but like sometimes too big of a bolt up can actually be a bolt down. And that's what happened with Jesse's team this year. He just went all in for that hometown pride. And it's almost kind of like he was just that trademark Chargers troll team, but sometimes the strategy works. This year, unfortunately, the Chargers aren't doing that good, so that means that Jesse's team suffers. You never want to load up on too many players from the same team in case this happens, and especially if the team sucks, like the Chargers. All right, so turkey moment number 5. Ryan drafts underwear thief Joseph Randle. And, this is probably one of the bigger risks that anyone took at the draft. I spent my 5th round pick on Joseph Randle, the Dallas running back. And, a lot of red flags there. I was just taking that lottery ticket, hoping that he was the guy behind the best offensive line in the league. But I ignored the red flags, like him actually stealing underwear and cologne from a department store during the offseason. And it just totally came back to bite me in the ass. The guy is a total kook. He got along awful with the coaching staff, and he started to lose his mind a little bit. He's just kind of crazy. He had a domestic dispute with his baby mama, and things did not work out for him. After he allegedly called the cops on his own house because he was feeling paranoid. And, Dallas is just like, this guy's kind of losing his mind. They cut him. After that, things did not go good for him. News actually broke today that he got kicked out of a casino for trying to beat up a cop who was wasted. So this is just classic, didn't see the writing on the wall and ended up hurting my team pretty bad, not having a good running back that I needed in the mid round. So total turkey moment. Speaking of running backs, turkey moment number 4. Derek drops DeMarco Murray. And this is one of those just like, oh, dude, why are you doing this? And not necessarily because I care that he doesn't have him, but it just means it's going to get immediately scooped up by the guy at the top of the waiver wire. At the time, that person was Sam. Sam's been doing really well all year. He definitely doesn't need another stud running back on his team, but that's what he got. And, it's just classic irony. Like, the week after Derek drops him, he puts up a 25-point game. He's been putting up great numbers since then. And now that Ryan Matthews is out with a concussion, it seems like he's going to be the lead dog in Philly. So that's just a brutal, like, what are you doing, dude? It's just acting too quick, Just a kind of a part 2 to this, like a little sub-doo-doo moment was ironic that Sam picked up DeMarco Murray because Sam had a brutal drop when he dropped Doug Martin. Doug Martin just not doing too good. Immediately after Sam drops him, he puts up a 30-point game and has been killing it since. So it's just a thing. You never know what's going to happen as soon as you drop somebody. All right. So getting on to turkey moment number 3. Letting Kirill in the league. And I'm actually not trying to be too joking with this one, but Kirill has been a great part of the league so far, but man, he loves the smack talk feature. Constantly, a lot of times, just phone blowing up, and I go to check it, it's the smack chat notifications, and just have no idea what Kirill's talking about. He just loves to go off. And You know, sometimes I feel like maybe he's trying to tell a story or something, but a lot of times it just makes no sense. So I'm going to have to go with some of Kirill's rants being turkey moment number 3 for the All right, so we're down to the final 2 oops blooper moments of the season. And blooper number 2, Shannon letting Jill see her phone while I'm complaining about my team. And this is called the sorry BB moment of the league. That's just kind of been a running joke since. You know, my team wasn't doing too good. Kind of reached out to Shannon to be like, like, my life sucks, my team sucks. And, you know, she just wanted to console me and say, like, you know, it's not too bad. Sorry, BB. And unfortunately, Shannon let Jill see her phone. Jill saw Sorry BB, thought it was hilarious. Now Sorry BB's the running joke of the league, and just kind of embarrassing. You know? What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? All right, and the top turkey moment of the year. Matt's entire draft. Matt's done really well this year, I'd say. He's scored a lot of points. His record's not too hot, but he's been doing pretty well despite the weird-ass draft that he had. And, you know, we can go ahead and take a look at it right here. He's going to start by putting a smiley face as his name, and that's just kind of Matt being kooky. You know, Andrew Luck at number 2, that's kind of like, that's a bust. You can't really blame him for that, but as you go down, his draft just starts to get really questionable around these mid-rounds, you know. Round 6 through 8, this is kind of where you're hitting your depth. He decides to draft his defense, his kicker, and Fred Jackson, who's just been a complete non-factor in fantasy this entire year. And, you know, this is kind of just not doing too much research, I think, putting a little too much emphasis on defense and kicker, which really, there's not that much difference between the teams. Seattle defense has been pretty good this year. Vinatieri started off awful. Matt ended up dropping him 3 weeks in, just completely worthless. That's just like classic why you don't draft a kicker that high. You know, he could have had a lot of depth in those rounds, but instead just kind of wasted it. And then you just keep going down, and he draft Antonio Gates, a good draft that he ended up actually dropping immediately, which is kind of weird. And then at the very bottom, he drafted me himself. It's just like a total troll move, you know. Like if you look a couple places over, people are picking up depth that actually helped them through the season, and just a complete waste of a pick there. It's just kind of a clown moment, but it is what it is, y'all. So, you know, despite the bloopers, everyone's been doing really well this season. Things are way closer than they were last year, and that's just a good sign that everything's nice and competitive the way it should be. So the last 2 weeks are going to be crazy, guys. You got to stay tuned and see what happens, because it ain't over for anybody yet. People are going to be slipping. People are going to be climbing until the very end. So go ahead and sound off in the comments with who you're rooting for to slip into the playoffs the final 2 weeks, and I'll see y'all then. Peace out.